back to Indianomics. We have been discussing with a star panel of Dr. Gulati, Mr. Nandakumar and Sanjay Kaul, all formally connected to the Agriculture Ministry, as to how we can use record buffer stocks with the FCI to cool down prices and open market operations. Mr. Kaul, since you are now somewhat with the private sector and actually close to a commodities exchange, the NCDEX, can you tell us exactly how the inefficiencies inherent in the FCI can be split, can be reduced? First of all, do you agree that the solution lies in bifurcating or trifurcating it? And simply by splitting, do you necessarily make it competitive? Do we have to make it a company under the Companies Act in the first place?
Yeah, I would strongly recommend two entities, the procurement entity and the distribution entity. Warehousing is not an inherent mandate of the government. It can be warehoused in state agencies. You have a dedicated commercial entity called the Central Warehousing Corporation. They have the warehousing companies. There is no reason why. There are several private sector companies which have come of age or mature, whose warehouse receipts are credible instruments. So there is no reason why warehousing necessarily has to be done by the Sarkar, by the FCI. But procurement, to the extent that MSP operations have to be carried on the ground, once you reach a cash-based kind of system and direct benefits to the farmer, then you can dispense with it. But currently, since we are living in the physical market, you do require an entity which is overseeing procurement. There again, you can set certain efficiency parameters, and that comes only when you make this into a commercial entity. Why I am talking about distribution entity separately is, if I was heading a distribution entity, I would benchmark it to the market price. I would source this grain from the procurement entity only if it is efficient for me to do so. Today, if the wheat is available in the market at 14 rupees and I am mandated to issue it at 3 rupees, my subsidy is 11. Today's FCI's economic cost is 22. So the distribution entity would say, I would not source it from somebody who's got a flab of 8 rupees. So there is that 8 rupee flab. Some of it is because the MSP is higher than the market benchmark, but that differential may be 10-15%. It's certainly not 40%. And once these two entities realize that they are being pitched against the private sector marketplace, then things would certainly be much more open, and then a lot of innovations and innovative solutions will come. So fundamentally, not only splitting, but more direct engagement with efficient operations, outsourcing it to efficient managers, to efficient entities, without tying yourself down to FCI labor or a state cooperative inefficient agency. If there's a private service provider, if the IT switch or part, we can do procurement efficiently, give it out to them. So basically use efficiency as a benchmark, and anybody is inherently more productive, give it out to them.
Now, I get the procurement part now, that can be made efficient, and my sense is that FCI has long enough been in procurement. There, of course, are inherent high costs, as Dr. Gulati pointed out, in the labor element. But my own problem is that the ability to dispose of the grains is an even bigger problem. Mr. Nandakumar, any ideas on that? Even if we take Mr. Kaul's idea that it is you make it market competitive in terms of procurement, and the agency which buys, even if it's a government agency, will procure from FCI, will buy from FCI if it is efficient, it will buy from private trade if that is more efficient. But basically, how do you use this record grains to cool off prices?
No, let me just go back, if you will permit me, to the earlier question. I think you should not look at FCI's efficiency in isolation. I think we need a big policy change in the whole food distribution system. I've been arguing that we should move to a combination of decentralized procurement and distribution through state agencies and a cash transfer scheme in metros and surplus states. So what you necessarily do is to reduce the total burden of procurement in physical terms and allow state governments a little more freedom to do what it can do. For deficit states, yes, FCI is important, because to procure in Punjab and shift it to Kerala or Kashmir is an important function. So if you scale down FCI to roughly 1/3 of what they are doing and shift another 1/3 to state agencies and the rest of the 1/3 coming up as cash transfer, I think we would have cracked part of the problem. Then of course I think we have to go through what Sanjay mentioned as two entities, one to do procurement, one to do distribution. At the distribution side, of course, there is this huge problem of leakages through the PDS, which I think has been a big problem that we have not been able to solve. There again, I think we have to look at innovative solutions, and one of them again, you always come back to the direct cash benefit kind of a transfer scheme, either through coupons or through smart cards or through debit cards or any of those.
Yeah, but now
I
with,
think we really
with
have to
Aadhaar being under question, we are postponing the solution?
Yeah. No, Aadhaar is, Aadhaar has been made as one mandate. We can use existing ration cards, we can identify people, and anyway I think NPR and Aadhaar getting converged is probably the solution. So that has been discussed earlier also. I think Aadhaar is just one reference point that we had for cash transfer, but I think we can do it through a coupon, through any other means. But I think the decision therefore will be which parts of India needs physical grains, which parts can go with cash, and which are the states which can live without FCI. And this is extremely important for the states in eastern India, because I don't think we will achieve food security by allowing FCI to procure huge quantities in Punjab and selling that grains cheap in Bihar, when you want eastern India to come up and produce much more.
Okay. No, if the higher prices are only because we want to reward farmers, then I don't think we are, people will regret it much. The problem now is that Bihar farmers have not even been advantaged with higher procurement or any procurement at all in several years.
Yeah, that's right. So this competitive taxation
yes.
of 14.5% in Punjab and probably close to 1% in Bihar will also work to Bihar's advantage.
Mm. Yes, well, now that we have an NDA government... Yeah, actually, no, Mr. Gulati, much more than a word. But actually, running out of time, I have a long list of questions for you.
Yeah.
Do we end this conversation by starting first that we have to repeal the FCI Act altogether? Two, how politically feasible it is, because this will be a union issue as well. And three, what is your summary of solutions on the new avatar of FCI?
Let me start with your last question, because the first two I don't think the government may have the
stomach to do?
Real stomach to
Okay.
it's a tougher job, not at least immediately. But what Mr. Nandakumar was earlier saying, that if 1/3 can be put into cash transfers, and he was referring to the metros and other cities. The interesting part of the game is that today, if I'm a farmer with 1 hectare of land and I'm producing wheat, and then I want to go and give it to the government at 14 rupees, and the moment government touches it, Mr. Kaul was saying economic cost is 22. For year 14-15, the cost of handling grain is 24 rupees.
Ooh, so 10 rupees more straight away.
The cost. It is 24 rupees for wheat, and then I expect now the government you give me back at 2 rupees. Now I will give you a very simple innovative solution, that instead of buying from that farmer, you simply say we will give you the difference not between 14 and 2 or 24 and 2, we'll give you the difference between 18 and 2. That means farmer, instead of getting 14 rupees, actually will be getting 18 rupees minus 2 rupees that he is supposed to pay.
Okay.
So 16 rupees subsidy you give him directly as cash, and don't buy from the farmers. So I would include in the list all the metropolitan cities, 53 cities, more than 1 million people, plus all the farmers who are producers of food.
Okay.
Don't give them back food, because the moment government puts a golden hand on it,
it is 10 rupees more expensive.
Tremendously high.
Okay.
That's right. And real test of the new government and the Prime Minister would be, when he talked about cooperative federalism, is to come and invite these chief ministers of these states, whether it is Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh or Punjab or Andhra or Haryana, where these things are coming. On food, basic staples, the taxation element should not be more than 5% in any state. And then those states which want to give bonuses on top of MSP, I think that should be crop neutral. It should be on per hectare basis to the farmers, otherwise they are creating a bigger problem.
Absolutely. Well, we'll leave it at that. We will have another session to check out more effective solutions of market intervention by the buffer, through the buffer stock held by FCI. Well, that's it on this edition of Indianomics. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. We only handled food grains at this juncture. In subsequent editions of Indianomics, we will try and tackle the bigger problem of food inflation, which lies in vegetables, in the APMC Act, in cold storage chains, all that in subsequent editions. Thanks for watching this one.